I will be talking about the leading email providers' effectiveness in filtering spam and phishing messages, and then comparing them to each other. The date is 12/14/2022, and my name is Jacob Kaler. Some background information on the topic. Defining phishing. Phishing is generally through email or text messages or even phone calls, designed to create a sense of curiosity, fear, or urgency in the receiver of the email. They generally try and mimic important companies in order to portray their legitimacy when in reality they are not legitimate. Spam emails is also known as junk email. Basically, any unsolicited email message. They're generally sent out in bulk emails to like a large list of recipients, and this can contain anything from digital marketing to other non-threatening spam types, or there could be malicious spam types with executable files. And phishing is a subcategory of spam, just more targeted. A data breach is a security violation in which sensitive, protected, or confidential data is copied, transmitted, viewed, or stolen, and is used by an individual who's unauthorized to have that information. The significance of this experiment. In 2021, more than 93% of adults were actively using the internet, as opposed to in 2000 and 2010, where they did this study, and it was around 52% of adults using the internet in 2000 and 76 in 2010. It's also estimated that in 2021, there were 319.6 billion emails sent and received on a daily basis. And 45% of this email is considered to be spam, meaning that around 143.5 billion emails were sent of spam every day. And then of this, 3.6 billion of those were classified as phishing. In 2018, more than $1.2 billion in losses were reported due to phishing attempts. And phishing attempts have continued to increase, and it has increased by more than 136% in the past 2 years. The total amount of emails sent every year increases by around 4.3% each year. The objective of this experiment is testing the effectiveness of the spam and phishing filtering techniques and how they sort from the leading email providers such as Gmail, Outlook, and Yahoo. That's the main objective. Some other things that I'm looking at are examining and evaluating emails that were incorrectly sorted and figuring out why they were sorted that way and what may have led to that, and also analyzing the type and the quantity of emails received through regular internet traffic, which I will get into later. The methodology, I will quickly move my camera. The methodology for this experiment, I split the data pool into two sets of emails, and in each set of emails there is one for each provider: Google, Yahoo, and Outlook. The first set was in a more controlled environment, and I made 30 emails, either manually made them or took samples off the internet that I thought fit a specific category that I wanted to use during the experiment. So there were 30 emails in total, 10 non-threatening spam emails, 10 malicious spam emails containing executable files, and 10 phishing attempts. And then all these emails were sent through email ID generators such as emailfake.com, Mailinator, and throwawaymail.com. I used all three of them just to try and add some diversity, and seemed to work that way. The second set of emails were signed out for the 10 most prevalent services known for data leaks. As you can see in the figure on the right here, I listed all of them: Amazon, TikTok, Instagram, etc. And what I did with them is they were just exposed to regular internet traffic. I left the emails alone. I didn't send any manually inputted emails, and I left them alone for 4 weeks. And over the track of the 4 weeks, every week I would mark how many emails accrued over each week, just to try and keep track of if there was more emails sent over time rather than when the account was fresh. So the results and the overall effectiveness, as I move my camera again. So this graph right here basically shows the sorting location and the allocation of every email sent over the experiment. If you look at the x-axis here, it shows what folder each email was sent into, either the inbox or the spam, or whether it was not delivered at all, which can only be a part of set 1. And it also shows the provider and what set of data it was in. As I said, only 3 emails in this experiment are not part of the data shown in the graph. Those would be these over here in this part of the graph. There was one one malicious executable file, containing an executable file that was sent to Google, and it was never delivered and never showed in the inbox or the spam. And there were 2 that were sent to Yahoo that were also malicious, with executable files in them. And looking overall at the experiment, for Google, out of the 47 emails that were sent between the 2 sets, they were able to correctly identify 40 of the emails, meaning that its effectiveness was around 85%. Breaking it down even more, it was 90% in filtering out spam and 60% in phishing attempts. Outlook had an effectiveness of around 71%, identifying 30 out of 42 emails, and Yahoo correctly identified 37 out of 59, which gave it an effectiveness of around 62%. This is splitting it up based on the subcategory of spam. Set 1 had pre-selected categories that I put them in. It was 10 each. But for set 2, I had to go through manually and categorize them based on how I categorized the first set. So as you can see, going through the data, all the non-threatening spam that ended up in the inbox versus the spam, the malicious spam that ended up in the inbox. There was only 1 instance of this from Yahoo side, in set 1 at least. And malicious spam in the spam folder, phishing in both the inbox and spam, and then the same for the set 2. All right, this is basically summarizing the results. I split it up between set 1 and set 2 effectiveness, where set 2 I expected to be a little bit higher because generally in regular internet traffic, the majority of emails that you're going to get are digital marketing and non-threatening spam. And non-threatening spam is very common and able to be identified, so the spam filter should be able to allocate it effectively. Just going over Google, the total effectiveness was 85%. Then set 1 was 80%. Set 2 was 93.8%. If you're looking at set 1 and set 2 and wondering why the total effectiveness isn't the average of these 2 numbers, it's because set 2 was not a set amount of emails. It wasn't 30. It was different for each provider. So Outlook had a total effectiveness of 71%, set 1 effectiveness 70%, and set 2 was 75%. Yahoo had a total effectiveness of 62%. Set 1, it only had an effectiveness of 56.6%, and set 2 had 75.9%. And then the table on the right over here, as I move my camera, shows the timetable for set 2 on a week-by-week basis. of how many emails were accrued during that time of week 1, week 2, week 3, and week 4 per each provider. In conclusion, this experiment found that Gmail was the most effective in both filtering out spam and phishing attempts. This means that using Gmail will provide the least amount of vulnerabilities to an individual's device and allowing attackers to get into that personal information. This project also pointed out holes in these 3 providers' abilities to sort both non-threatening spam as well as phishing attempts, which will need to be addressed and adapted for the future. But all emails were effective in filtering out malicious spam emails that contain executable files. So sending an executable file will almost automatically mark it as spam unless the email is recognized already. And the limitations that I faced during this project are that I had a small pool of data, so I only tested 2 email accounts per provider, and 3 providers total. I could add more providers, get different email services in there, and then have more email accounts per provider and per set of data. Another thing is to look at is the short testing period for set 2. It was only a month to really let, and also it was only signed up for 10 different services. So you could sign it up for more services and then have a longer testing period in order to get more data, because one could argue that there was not a significant amount of data in the experiment to come up with a claim. Another thing is that 94.2% of all spam emails are regarded as non-threatening. So this kind of shows with the data in set 2 that 93.1% were actually spam. So the numbers do kind of line up there. And a total of 3 emails accounting for 10% of data in set 1 were not delivered. Those were the malicious spam attempts with executable files for some reason. 9 of them sent to Google and 1 didn't, and 8 of them sent to Yahoo and 2 of them didn't. And yeah, if I were to recreate this project, I would just try and do it on a larger scale and probably simulate regular email traffic more than doing the set 1 data that I did. And here are my references. Thank you.